We're playing Equifox. Last time we faced them, we went in with like 0 respect against them.
Fox is gonna take the first game of the series over TSM!
Once we realized that they weren't like a solo queue team, then we just took the game pretty easily.
TSM are gonna find the win over Equifox.
This TSM squad looks better and better every week.
TSM keeps swinging, and they deliver the final blow for yet another 2-0 sweep.
The question remains, who's going to stop them? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the North American LCS. Week 7 is upon us, and we're pushing through the end of the split and headed towards playoffs and a Toronto final. Now here's a look at the crowd as they've got plenty of energy, very hyped up for today's matches, and of course, Pearson and Svenskeren having a little fun as they enter the studio earlier today, showing a little love for his jungler. And of course, it looks like GBM and KFO arrived around the same time as well. Both players are stars for their teams, and they're getting along as well. It's good to see the pro players with some camaraderie between each other before they have to go head-to-head on, or rather in the arena. Here we have a look at Envy's bot lane in Laud and Hakuho preparing for their match. They'll be up soon enough, and they're looking to be grabbing a victory as that team has struggled a little bit here on the back half of the split. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, back on the desk, as always, with Mark Zimmerman and Alberto Crumsrangifo. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good?
Yeah, got in last night. Nice drive.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
All right, good. How about you? You got to do the Jungle Focus stream yesterday. What was, real quickly, what was that experience like?
Oh,
being
it was
able
a
to
blast.
focus on one
It was an
matchup.
absolute blast actually doing that cast because you got to focus so much on the jungle matchup and you went so into detail that you forgot about the entire match itself. And
Right.
We're just casually like, whoa, they got a pentakill. All right, back to the jungle matchup. Here's what they did
So
right
what the
here.
jungler did in that
Yeah.
fight
Yeah, that's
to
kind
help
of
get that
interesting.
penta.
We like
yeah.
almost have to ignore sometimes like what is maybe a larger piece of the game in order to focus in a more nuanced sense of what the junglers are
Basically,
doing.
so that was a whole lot of fun. And I just found out there's sparkling water here and I really like that. So.
All right, well, it's a good day.
Can't go back
It's a
from
good
here,
day.
man. We got
Right,
my
it's
sparkling
a good
water.
day at the LCS. Well, before we get into our day's discussion, let's review how the league currently stands. TSM, Immortals, Cloud9, and Liquid, they've established themselves as the main contenders in the top 4. Now, middle of the pack teams include Team Envy, Counter Logic Gaming, and Apex. Sitting at the end of the table are the final 3 LCS squads, Energy, Phoenix One, and Echo Fox. Now for a look at your matches coming your way this afternoon. NALCS 1 viewers will see Echo Fox take on TSM before Cloud9 goes head-to-head with Apex. And over on NALCS 2, you can catch Energy versus Team Envy, followed by Phoenix One taking on Liquid. So we've got lots of matches up today. Obviously, we always have 4. These ones, though, rather lopsided, at least in terms of or match records between teams coming in. So we'll see if there are any upsets today as we move to the back half of the season. Want to take a look at last night's matches, though, specifically Phoenix One emerging victorious in their match with Energy, giving a great opportunity for us to talk about tiebreakers. Here they sit, both of them, 3-10 in their match records. 1-1 in their head-to-head against each other. So there we have to jump to our game record. 10-21, 10-23. Therefore, Energy does have a slight edge currently in the standings, holding that 8th place spot.
Right, and I think it's especially important given that you kind of start looking at who the other team's playing, not just who you're playing that week. So I think Energy has a little closer of a matchup versus Envy than P1 does against Team Liquid. So if you know, Energy is able to grab even just one game in that match, that's a huge victory in a sense for them to be able to pull themselves a little bit further ahead in the standings.
Yeah.
That's not shooting for the.
Yeah, I mean, you want to win the match, obviously. You want to win the whole
stars.
match, but you have to, you know, if you are kind of battling to avoid relegations, those are the kind of things that start mattering a lot.
Exactly. I mean, we've been saying it throughout the split. All games are important, right? You don't want to be dropping games if you don't have to, but now is where we're kind of realizing, when the playoff picture is becoming more and more solidified, how important each of those single games are. For both of these teams, even if they don't win a single match from here on out, it's all that much more important that Phoenix One or Energy start taking individual games off of their
Well, I
opponents.
don't think that they should be looking at these games as a way of avoiding relegation as
Right.
opposed to their attitude, which, at least P1's attitude, which was, hey, we can at least make the playoffs if we really, get a little bit lucky and we put all our effort forward. So if the team that has that mentality, I think we'll see a lot more success as opposed to, hey, we just want 7th place for more vacation, or we just want to avoid relegation.
No, absolutely the proper mentality moving towards the back half of the split. And when we consider their strength of schedule, even more so, right? Because you are going to go up against some very powerful teams. Both of these teams are not going to play each other again. They're not playing Echo Fox again, right? So when you look at just Phoenix One's remaining schedule, you got Team Liquid, TSM, Cloud9, Envy, Immortals. That is not something that not a gauntlet that I would want to run through, but they're going to have to do it here.
That's
that's the kind of thing where you're like 3 and 15, or maybe that's what we end up, you know? Because I mean, other than maybe Envy or CLG being the closest of those two, and Phoenix One has played a couple of those teams a little closer in this once they got their full roster together.
Right.
But they lost so many matches 0-2 with the kind of makeshift roster. They have to make up a lot of room. So.
Although, while I don't think they could beat these opponents very convincingly if they end up beating them, I think that the fact that they are prone to maybe at least taking one game off them would give them that advantage in the head-to-head when it comes down to versus Energy.
Exactly, and here we see on the screen a very similar schedule for Energy, just in a different order, so them as well going to have to run through the gauntlet. But essentially this whole tiebreaker scenario, all this logic, as it applies to these two teams, also applies to that middle of the pack. When we talk about Cloud9, Envy, Team Liquid, these squads that they're going to have to play, well, they're all within 1 or 2 matches of each other, so the same exact scenario could play out when we near the end of the split, where you could be getting 3rd or 4th or 5th seed into the playoffs just based on your game record as opposed to your match record.
Especially since the Envy and C9 kind of started stronger and seem to be dipping, whereas Team Liquid and CLG started a little slow and now they're catching back up. It's kind of leading to the situation where all those teams seem like they could end up 1-1, and then that's when those match records, like you're saying, become so important. And I think the teams that are going to have like the strongest high point of the season is going to matter the most, because that's when they're getting the most 2-0s and things like that.
Very much so. Time to turn it on. Last half or last third of the split. We're talking about game records. TSM still undefeated in this season. They do have a 12-0 game record currently running. Their last loss came from Echo Fox actually 3 weeks ago. They're playing today. We'll see if Echo Fox can hand them another loss. And this is the thing, TSM, they're approaching Cloud9's 13-0 game record that they set a few years back. So an incredible run out of this squad.
So they just need one more 2-0 to set it, right?
Well, this next, if they win in the first game,
they tie it,
and they win another, and then they technically set it.
So
now,
most likely.
We could, most likely.
That's happening.
Absolutely most likely. Now, we could caveat it with the fact that because we play best of 3 series, their 12 wins are across fewer teams. Cloud9 had to do 12 wins in best of 1, so they played every single team and then 3 of the teams again. Whereas TSM is doing it in just against 6 teams.
Right, and you could potentially argue that the second win is easier to pick up if you're a better team. You have the ability to adapt, like the cheesy picks aren't flying out in your face the way they kind of tended to happen in best of 1. So I think you could argue that the TSM one is maybe a little easier in a sense, but it's kind of, you know, just splitting hairs at that point.
Right, but Crumbs, hot on their heels, we've got Immortals, right? And although TSM might be uncatchable at this point in terms of that #1 seed, these two teams seem to be surging ahead of the rest and really cementing themselves as that top 2. But I feel like at this point, it's more just a mental game between them, especially approaching that final matchup between the 2 of them in Week 9.
Well, I think we got a lot of insight into what Immortals' stance is with the interview yesterday from Rainover, whereas if they really want to go for first place, they have to rely on TSM losing games,
exactly.
Which is not the position they want to be in which they're not really controlling what's happening. So they really just want to look forward towards the other ways of qualification. So obviously they have their points from the last split, and they're trying to get in the position where their points add up to be the best record for the qualifications for Worlds, whereas everybody else's are not so much. So ultimately, their points are relying on everybody else's results, which isn't the position that you want to be in.
No, never.
But unfortunately, that's where they're standing. And I think that just makes them a team that will just want to focus on improving as opposed to really caring about anybody else's record.
Very much so. Well, with all this information on the table, let's go ahead and take a look at how championship points would break down if the season were to end today. So again, this is if the season ends right now. Here we go. TSM auto-qualifying to Worlds as the #1 seed. Immortals picking up that 90 for second place. Look all the way down to the bottom. We've got CLG already holding 90 points. They'd be picking up 20. But would still actually be second place in total points here, making them the #1 seed in the regional qualifier. So that championship from spring really doing them wonders here in terms of kind of a safety net.
Well, if they get third, they would be able to beat out Immortals, which is rather huge.
Yes.
Which is why Immortals would just be like, all right, let's just hope CLG doesn't really do too well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, is you can hope that you get second place and CLG somehow, just barely in the playoffs, has a bad matchup against some team early, and you don't have to worry about it. Or, of course, you can just win the whole summer split, and then you don't have to worry about it. So.
Yeah, so step one, just win the entire
probably
playoffs.
just tie against TSM, and then you go with the head-to-head. And I think TSM's head-to-head would be better than Immortals.
In terms of regular season.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. We do have to consider, as you mentioned, the fact that they will have to play through playoffs for those actual points. But just as a sense of where all the teams rest and how maybe our world's picture would develop, that's it for you. Moving on, though, last night our Twitter was blowing up with you at home calling attention to some good old-fashioned LCS big plays. So we pulled a few to share at the top of the show. Let's get into it. First up, Malala Samir, hope I got that right, says, huge Baron steal by Reignover. Well played.
They're not sure if this is a bait or what, and this is going down quick. They're going to have to make a move. We'll see it.
Bartleby stops two. Will Immortals be able to go in? Reignover can look for the smite. Still, he's going to get it. Beautiful by Reignover. Counter Logic Gaming with an easy retreat thanks to Magical Journey. Sad times ahead for Xmithie, pulling the game a little bit closer for Immortals.
They're hitting.
They're burning it. They're burning it.
Go for steal. I got it.
Nice.
Kill them out here.
Try and take mid.
Nice. This is really big.
So calm.
That was sick.
Yeah.
So calm.
Hey, I'm going to go for steal.
Yeah, that's my favorite
it.
part. They're all talking about what they're trying to do. So nobody is going and trying to take the fight. They just say, we're going for a steal, don't commit for the fight. And then immediately after they get it, what can we get? Convert into mid lane. And with that play, they almost won the game. They tried to end the game off that, which was obviously in the most Immortals fashion possible.
Right, that's their go button. They get a Baron, they're like, well, this means we win the game in the next 4 minutes, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing. We have Baron. We must be winning, right? Like, no, you're supposed to be losing this game. What are you doing?
No, yeah, fantastic steal from him. Great presence of mind, using that extended leap plus the flash to get into range and secure that Baron. Next up, Nico Suave tweeted, Wild Turtle living up to his name, going wild for the pentakill. Let's see that big play.
Damage still onto Huni, and they pick him up. Arrow's gonna land. Darshan should die for this one, and he gets it. 1-for-1 top laner. Xmithie running away. Low health jungler, a double kill for Wild Turtle's Ash, and a big knockback by Pobelter. He's getting all the damage across. A quadra kill already for Wild Turtle's Ash. It's the pentakill to carry this game, and Immortals can take whatever they want.
Rise. Pentakill. Nice. Pentakill.
Reignover snuck an auto in there at the end. They're like, oh, Penta, and then I see Reignover still just attacking. I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's not on board.
Doesn't want to hand it
I didn't
over.
even notice there was a pentakill going on the stream, to be honest. We were just like, why would you engage on Lissandra? No.
Yeah, that's the thing is Ash was like at red buff when that fight started, and Lissandra self-ult, Lissandra, Zanya's, and next thing you know, it's like...
Yeah, if you consider how that fight started, that pentakill was very much a team effort. Huni having to live for about as long as he could while Wild Turtle made his way over, and then, of course, that great knockback by Pobelter on the Azir ultimate to help secure and finish it off. But fantastic pentakill from him. Our last shout-out comes from Rivington III at Lulz Irene. How can she slap? And now, before we get into this play, Riv, this is the last time we are going to tell you. Use the hashtag LCS Big Plays. Come on, you are better than that, all right? Now let's see Quas lay in the smackdown.
Huge stun. He's going to be able to get some great cleanup. Phoenix One are slaughtering energy right now. Quas, though, in the back picks up a triple kill as Phoenix One forgets to protect their backline. And then everybody dives the turret. They haven't killed the turret yet. And then the question is, how can she slap? Well, Quas is answering it right now across 3 members, and then jumps and flashes afterwards for the follow-up there.
Yeah, that was a good question. I don't know. You're supposed to focus on the big play. Mark's over here asking us like about the geography of the map.
Yeah, what is this part? There's like a turret in the background that's not part of the map. I was like, when is that there? I've
Pay
never seen
attention to that awesome camera work that gave us a sweet dunk.
They showed me that sweet art in the background.
No, but that I think what that play illustrated, and we also had a replay yesterday from a fight that happened later in the game, really illustrates both the strengths and weaknesses of Alawi. When you're trying to move into Alawi and she controls the space, that's what happens. She triple kills you in a 1v3 when we have a gold deficit.
We really need a pirate Ilawi skin, so like you come into the Ilawi Cove and you just get slapped by tentacles by the Kraken.
All right, we can make that happen, I'm
Thank
sure.
you.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, I'm not promising
James
that.
promised it.
he did it.
No, if you don't see it in 6 months.
Okay, yeah, all the skin artists are. I'm about to get like 12 emails. Like, you wouldn't. All right, well, that's all we've got for today out of us in terms of the A block and setting up the day. It's time to get the game started. So let's pass things off to the